Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Just 4 teams remain at the VALORANT World Championship. Fnatic confirmed their best placing ever at the tournament, but they will certainly be looking for more. Loads of storylines there, but especially on the Rostermania side as well. New rumours emerging yesterday as to what teams are trialling which players. MCE and Cloud9 seem to be cooking up something very interesting indeed, with Marved, it seems, spotted in their practice last night, especially with Sentinel's results not looking so good without Marved on the roster over the last couple of days. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always. Now Cloud9 will also be going with 100 Thieves and others to the Red Bull Homeground event in Tokyo, so that's very interesting because we might well be seeing, of course, their new team in action when we get there, and what it's going to be is a very interesting matter of debate right now. There's also been questions as to what's going on in EMEA, as Sugetsu says from Na'Vi, okay, feels like it's time to run away from this fraud region, and we'll get into maybe why he said that here in a second, but this was what I thought was interesting here with Vanity. Now, you know, this is probably bait, and it's more likely than not that it is bait, but it's definitely a little bit interesting to at least look at tweets like this when we've got some flags. Now this is seemingly pointing the way of Liquid, because we've got let's just say Nats, and we've got Redgar, and we've got Yampi, Finnish player, and then we've got Safe, who's a Swedish player, right? And they're teaming them up with an American flag. So I don't know if Vanity's implying, which it seems like he is, that they might be making a change, keeping those 4 players, and then bringing in some sort of American player talent over the next few weeks, I suppose. So we'll see about that one, but it could well be bait, it could well be absolutely nothing, and, well, we're seeing a lot of tweets like this, that if you see this, I mean, like, you can't take this stuff too seriously. The only things that I really do trust at this point are Scrimbuck images and screenshots of players in the same lobby teaming together. That gives you some indication. You've always got to consider as well what Zekken says, because you guys remember last year Zekken was joking around about certain teams, and at one point he did just leak the teams. You've got to be a little bit careful with Zekken and what he tweets out, because one of the things he tweets might actually be real. I will also just mention though, this is one of the theories as to what Sentinels have some questions to answer what they do with this Brazilian thing, especially given the rumours that Aspas and Loud might not be on great terms and could well depart at the end of the World Championship. Now, Loud are still making a great run, and they could well go even further, and we'll see that later in the video, but it's still not guaranteed, right? Even if you come second at the World Championship, you're not for sure going to stick together, and even if you win, if there's really big internal friction, and you've already had other agreements with other teams, things might, you know, change around. So that's a question that Sentinels have to consider, but we'll get into what that looks like in a second, because it looks like for now, Pancada is definitely still part of the lineup, which kind of implies that Sassy might well be as well. We'll get into that. Now, Valen says from the guard, if these roster rumors are true, then I don't even know anymore. And we've heard this from Trent and from others that actually have had trials, it seems, with Cloud9, that things are getting pretty crazy right now. And there's a lot of potential roster changes on the cards. And we heard from Asana that it's really, there's some interesting things for sure with NRG and with Sentinels, absolutely. But one of the real big teams to watch right now is Cloud9. They want more success than they had most recently. They had a very interesting set of roster changes where they dropped Vanity, they dropped Ye, and then they brought in Rooney and Jake respectively. They did very well compared to expectations, those players, but it seems like Rooney's going to be gone. Jake might well stay, which I don't think is a bad call at all, but what they do with the rest of the team, the Zelsises, the Zeppers, and Leaf, of course, is a big question. This was the tweet that I kind of mentioned yesterday, where Zelsis says, oh me, don't mind me, just banging my head against the wall, no big deal, which kind of implies that there's something going on here, right? He's either frustrated about what's going on at Cloud9, I don't know, but, you know, kind of, I don't know why he would tweet this if there was nothing going on there behind the scenes. Now, thanks to our boy James FF here, he's done it again, finding up and putting together the screenshots of what he believes has been going down the last night. So we've seen some matches, like Sentinels had some scrim against someone who was 7-5, Furia 16-5, Leviathan 11-11 against someone, Cloud9 were playing someone, so we saw some screenshots, but the interesting ones absolutely are right here. So Sentinels played Fnatic, it seems, last night, or the day before, and the best screenshot he got of that one was this image of Sen Z, of course, Zekken, Pancada, and Tens. So this is interesting, because as I say, if Pancada stays on Sentinels, and of course Tens as well has been spotted here, so we don't know what's going on with Sen, and I think it's going to depend big time on what's going on elsewhere, and also it's possible that Sen don't even have a full team for these scrims, especially if Marved is actually going elsewhere, because as he says, Marved was getting a bit of a trial with Cloud9, and this is an especially interesting combination. Zelsis, we just looked at, Zelsis maybe not being so happy, he was out, Jake was out, and Marved and Victor was in. So, and this is the screenshot picture that we have of that tier with Cloud9 playing with Zephyr, with Leaf, with Marved, and with Victor. So I guess on this evidence, the 5th player is somewhat unclear. We don't believe it was Elsis, don't believe it was Jake, so I guess, you know, maybe Marv's doing the eye gelling, who knows? But still, potentially, and this is even very interesting with the Victor stuff, because Victor on NRG going over there, and I kind of see it in some respects. I don't know why, you know, maybe Victor should stay with Crashies and Finesse, right? You can totally understand that. But has that core run its course? Maybe, right? I don't know. Do you guys think that Victor, Crashies, FNS as a core 3 can still take it back to the top? I mean, this season with NRG, they had Som, who played really well. They had Ardis, who was not great always, but was pretty solid. Like, swapping him for Ye, I'm not sure changes everything. There might be an argument that says Victor or Crashies needs to depart, and I think I would rather keep Crashies over Victor, and of course, Finesse is not going anywhere as the ideal you would think from NRG. So that's one thing. But the other thing that he notes here is that the trials with Marved and Victor were not going well, whereas NRG, based on the numbers that he saw, they were down 7-1 against EDG here. So whatever was going on with Cloud9, that team, you know, if the scrims and the trials aren't going well, they're probably unlikely to run it back with that roster, you know what I mean? Like, even if we see this roster very briefly, it's far from guaranteed they're actually going to stick with it if they were getting cooked in scrims. And apparently it wasn't going well. And apparently the same story with Marved and leaving Sentinels. Apparently Sentinels practice has also not been looking so good without him. So maybe it implies that they've got like an assistant coach stepping in for the time being, or they're thinking about something. But yeah, Cloud9 are making some very interesting decisions and trialing some players that, you know, you wouldn't necessarily expect. So things could, of course, change massively. And George Getters is tweeting about the old Optic team. But, you know, I don't think that this will be reforming is my current expectation, given all the rumours we've seen over the last couple of days as to where the likes of Marved and now even Victor might end up next season. So what are Cloud9 cooking? I don't know, but possibly what Cloud9 are doing is going to determine a lot of what's going on elsewhere, because maybe they can spend more money than other teams, I don't know, but you know, that financial thing probably had some truth to it in the early part of the season. Now let's talk about the champions from last night. These were some crazy series, man. I think all of my predictions this tournament are still correct outside of Fnatic losing to Loud first time round, and maybe that's going to be the second prediction I get wrong as well. We'll get into this in a second. Edward Gaming took map 1 against Loud, but then Loud bounced back emphatically here, and okay, Kankang made some great plays to take down Les and win this 1 versus 2, but that was over pretty quickly, of course, and it goes all the way to a map 3 here on the Haven. Loud eventually get the job done here. Smoggy made some great plays to even, like, keep them in this game, to be honest, and there were some moments from Kankang, right, and it's kind of live by the sword, die by the sword with Kankang, and pretty much this entire team, to be honest. Like, he will make some crazy plays that will make a massive difference to the game, but in the negative sense as well, right? When he does get caught off guard, it does affect the team, and it's the playstyle, it's his playstyle, it's how they go, but against a more coordinated team, I felt like Loud, you know, Edward were always going to struggle. Still a good tournament nonetheless, and Loud's run has been impressive. Now, they lost to DRX round 1, right? That was obviously known, so this is kind of why, in some respects, they had such a hard bracket, but still, they've beat Liquid, they beat Na'Vi, they beat Fnatic, lost 2-1 to PaperX, and now beat Edward Gaming. Like, that is a very hard stretch of 5 teams, and now it's going to get arguably even harder. Now they play Fnatic again, and we'll see that in a second. So Loud 2-1 versus Edwards. I know that Kankang afterwards like took responsibility for the defeat and everything, so and I thought it was kind of, not exactly sad, but, you know, it was disappointing to see these guys go out in the way that they did. But frankly, it was a deserved victory for Loud, and they move on. It was 13-11 on the binds. Ascent was not even close, and then Haven was super back and forth, and in the end, Loud take it 13-11. So, yeah, no overtime for EDG to enjoy. Smoggy was making some big plays to keep them in it on the breach. But, yeah, so Edward go out top 6. I think a respectable finish from them again. Probably where I would have had them finishing before the tournament began. And Loud move on to play the winners of Fnatic DRX. This was a really strange series in many ways, because game 1, I tuned into this when it was like 9-1. I was like, what is going on here? Like, excuse me, are we sure we haven't got the numbers reversed? But Fnatic were completely lost game 1, and they looked kind of mentally chalked as well. They were like, what is going on? Fnatic don't lose really at all, and when they do lose, it's close, you know what I mean? Like, they might lose in overtime, they might lose a 13-11. They don't lose 13-1, like, that just doesn't happen. Boaster nearly had a donut, right? Nearly dropped 0 kills before he got 1 kill here in this final rounds, but they still lost 13-1. Like, DRX just came to play. They put past their defeat the other day, but Fnatic regained heavy behind the scenes. I know that Boaster talked about that. Even Kankang himself had some words to Boaster and kind of said, like, just, you know, regain focus up and you guys have still got this. They won game 2, and in the end, kind of, you know, shades of former Fnatic came to play. I think that in, you know, Fnatic were the better team, but DRX, there was still a little bit of an element here of well. They won the map 1 so comfortably, and then as soon as they realized that Fnatic were really back in this series, they won game 2. Game 3, you know, was a bit of a collapse, to be honest. Split wasn't particularly close at the end of the series, and yeah, as even Boaster said after the game here on Weibo, I'm guessing what this is on anyway, I won't give up before winning champions. Want to thank my guy Kang. He said some encouraging words to me backstage after we lost Binds. I think it's because of him we were able to make the comeback today. So nice wholesome content. But I mean, yeah, 13-1. How often do you see Fnatic lose like this? And this will make people realize, even though DRX are now gone, and there's an argument that says DRX again have underperformed their potential here. They've come top 6 again. Like, they just love that placing, and it's so predictable, unfortunately, that they're going to dominate the groups and then come out top 6. Maybe they just need to stop messing around with this whole Foxy9 thing, like, you know, bringing him in, bringing him out. I don't think it's helped them necessarily, but at the same time, they might need to make further changes there going forward as well. So, yeah, DRX, again, not quite able to achieve their potential, but this will make other teams look at Fnatic and think, damn, these guys are vulnerable, right? When you've got a map like this, where Bosa's got 2 frags, and, you know, like, it does feel like they're a bit more vulnerable than they have been. It was 13-9 Haven in the end, so they did bounce back, and Alpha had a massive map here, and then Split was dominant, 13-6. Leo really came to play. Leo's always super consistent and one of the best players in the world, hands down, but nonetheless, he was a massive part of this turnaround at the end of this series. So, yeah, in the end, Fnatic get over the line as we might well have expected. DRX bow out, and they will have some questions to answer. But Fnatic are looking vulnerable, and Loud believed they could beat Fnatic the first time round, and did exactly that. And now they're going to play them again. So these are the series. We've got a couple of days off now before this re-begins, so I'm sure there's going to be lots of Rostermania questions to discuss over the coming days, but it will be when it resumes on August the 24th, Fnatic, Loud, and Paper X Evil Geniuses to determine which team goes through to the finals and which team goes home immediately. Fnatic could be out again to Loud, could you believe it? You know, I'll do my predictions in the coming days. I feel like I've got to have Fnatic making a run here. There's going to be lots of prep time for Fnatic to see if anyone can actually get revenge on a team that beat them earlier in the tournament, which hasn't really seemed to have happened so much so far. So very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.